Episode 9 of The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 starts with June and the other handmaids walking out of town. They make it to the trucks nearby and bundle inside, evading soldiers as they do. They're not finishing with this fight tough, as they're determined to keep going. It doesn't take long before the handmaids are stopped by guardians on the road, though, as they're lined up against the wall. They know who June is and demand she show herself. When she does, June is taken away from the others. Not by her looks, though, but by recognizing her tag. I mean, you'd think Gilead would have cameras by now, right? Knocks at the door brings Serena over to Lawrence's place that night. Naomi is still here too, as Serena finds out about the rebellion and the bombs going off in the city. With 37 commanders dead and wives being killed in the streets, Naomi decides to bring Wharton in, believing he and Serena need to patch up their differences here. Wharton apologizes for what happened the previous night and suggests they try to consummate the marriage properly, free of handmaids. He's arranged escorts for all women and children to be taken deeper into Gilead, which includes Charlotte and Naomi. Before they go, though, Lawrence has a touching goodbye with the girl, encouraging Naomi to read to her and let her learn. Wharton also confirms here that June is in their custody and God's justice will be served for her using their wedding as a rebellion tool. June is being kept in a cage like an animal, and when Wharton shows up, he actually opens the doors and lets her sit before him. While Wharton is convinced that Gilead will endure and make it through this, June, though, sees the writing on the wall and is convinced this is the beginning of the end. She talks to him about how his words have been twisted into an excuse to clutch at power rather than spreading love. This is something that June attempts to drill into Wharton's head, but it doesn't seem to work. June is almost certainly going to face death here, but Serena doesn't think that's just and wants her to live. As for Lawrence, though, he's intending to go about business as usual, with plans to meet the other commanders and discuss Gilead's next chapter. Back with June, though, she's taken out in front of a huge crowd at Gilead, alongside all the handmaids who will face death. Aunt Lydia is blamed for this entire rebellion effort given these handmaids were under her care. She gives a badass speech about the wicked, godless men, which gets a smirk from Janine as she too faces the noose. Among the crowd happen to be those from Mayday who show up and make their move when June is hung. Grenades are thrown, gunshots rain down, and a big fight breaks out as the rebellion takes shape. Gilead are on the back foot. Out of all the high commanders here, Nick is still alive, and he ends up at the hospital with Rose. Their baby is okay, but it's the sedatives from the cake that have caused her to have health complications. She urges Nick to do what's right and hit back, ending this brazen assault by going after the rebellion. Mark and the other soldiers are the second line of attack here, and with their planes bombing the cities along with going after high-profile targets on the ground, they've got a well-drilled operation and a foothold in the city. However, there are still the extremist commanders out there, and they're determined to track them down before they can regroup. Lawrence has obviously gone AWOL, and the only one who could help here is Serena, who's in protective custody across the street in a church. June shows up to see her, and after trading some ideological ideas, Serena reveals that the commanders are bound for D.C. at 7 p.m. from Bedford to convince the High Council to let them rain down terror on the city. Lawrence is eventually picked up and brought to Mayday, where he's given his instructions. Given he's a high commander and still has access, Mark wants him to put an altitude-triggered bomb on board the plane bound for D.C. Shooting the plane down is out the question, given Gilead's defense missiles, and this is the only play they gave. The idea is for Lawrence to leave the plane before the bomb goes off, but it's basically a suicide mission, all things considered. When Lawrence makes it to the hangar early, Wharton gets there just after, and he's forced to hop aboard with him. He stops and looks out at June, tapping his chest in a really touching moment before succumbing to the fate that's about to befall him. Nick also shows up too, deciding to join the winners. He sits with Lawrence and explains that June told him to give this up many times, but he's ignored her. The irony, of course, is that this will be the last plane ride any of them take. As the plane takes off, June watches from the hangar as it eventually explodes in mid-air, raining fireballs down from the sky.